Well, I want to welcome everyone to today's stat tutorial webinar. My name is Brad Seigan. I'm the Director of Marketing at Presto. We're going to walk through PrestoStats football today. So, exciting time of the year. With that, we'll go ahead and get into it. Today, we're going to be walking through PrestoStats football and showing how to run a game with it start to finish. From logging in, setting up through live play entry to the reports that go out after the final whistle. So follow along, and by the end, you'll have kept a full game. Pay close attention, even if you've used PrestoStats previously. We've made some strategic updates in the last year, so we'll outline those in each step. All Sports products are cloud-based, so getting started and setting up rosters and schedules are going to require at least an internet connection. I think you all know that already. Uh, we'll come back to what happens if that connection drops mid-game, but also of note, beginning this year, for those of you that are in the NCAA, rosters and schedules for NCAA customers should now be entered via the NCAA Manager system. We'll pull that data directly from that system, so there's one single source of truth for NCAA customers. For those of you, and I think we've got a large NAI contingent today, you'll just continue entering your rosters and schedules where you have in the past. With that said, I'm going to introduce Zaid, who's going to walk you through everything today. Zaid is our product owner for PrestoStats Football. One thing I do want to mention, a little housekeeping. Make sure that if you have questions, enter those into the Q&A. We've disabled the chat, so make sure everything comes via Q&A. We will get to those as we can. Most likely, we'll get to the vast majority of those at the end. So with that said, Zaid, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you roll from here.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brad, thank you for the introduction there. As Brad mentioned, my name is Zaid Hussein. I'm a member of the product development team here at Presto Sports. I look forward to walking you guys through our latest version of our new football platform. I will share my screen here. And we will begin by logging into the platform. Some of you may have logins already. Some of you may be prospective clients who don't have logins. Prior to your onboarding, you will have been provided with credentials and a way to log in. If you're a website client, meaning you don't typically, you only, or if you're a website client and you are also a stats client, your access may change a little bit, and you may decide to log in through your actual your site domain. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to log in through the Presto Sports platform, our primary domain, and through there you can access all of your season, game day, administrative functionality outside of managing the content within your website. So there you would just simply go to prestosports.com/admin. The URL would resolve. I'm already logged in. I did have my credentials already stored there, but you would just provide your email and password. Upon logging in, this is the view you will see. Again, depending on the access that you have, you may see a couple of extra tabs here. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to go through game day. As you can see, you can tab through the thumbnails to essentially select the date that you would like to access. So for today, we have a couple of events, one for field hockey and one for football. This is actually where most of our work is going to reside today. If you are on a day where it's perhaps not game day, you could always go to the season directly. And the title of our season is Unofficial Football. Typically, you would see the year and NCAA, NAIA, NJCAA along those lines. It would be named accordingly to your organization. Upon accessing this view, You'll notice within a season you have some tabs available. You'll have your overview, schedule, stats, links, roster, and coaches. I'll dig a little bit deeper into each one and how they're relevant to statting at an individual event. Um, just sure here. I have a couple of teams. Um, you may have multiple depending on your role within your organization. But for now, I've set it to just one team, and as you can see, the football demo home and football demo away are the two teams that we'll be using for this training. Rosters have already been uploaded, but you would just go to this rosters tab. You could add individual players if you need to, set a status, identify a uniform number, primary and secondary position. And those are going to be important for the stats platform itself because players that are rendered inactive will not show up by default within the stats platform and be selectable for participation. Your typical stat crew uploads are available as well. We take standard FRO and FRSX rosters. And if you needed to import many players, we have a CSV option as well. And you can simply paste a comma delimited file into here and it will generate the roster records as needed. Also pretty important pregame is going to be your stat partner setup. So typically, if you are sending your statistics to Stat Broadcast or to a third-party service to ingest, we have a couple of ways to go about that. But for now, we'll just dig into Stat Partners. They're set per team. You can set this at the individual team level, or you can essentially come into the stat partners view for an individual team and select the provider that you would like. We've got CBS, Sidearm, college hockey stats, and then we simply allow integration with FTP servers as long as you provide the right credentials. You also have the ability to email the post-game box score to a comma delimited list of addresses as well. Next, I'll go into PrestoSync. PrestoSync is actually something our in-arena utility tool. It will essentially allow you to connect a live game file to your scoreboards, whether that's in the venue or out on the field. Essentially, how this works is you would download a package. I'll show you guys the platform here. But you would download a package and you would select the event. It's happens to be the event that we're going to be statting here shortly. And then you would select your transmission method. And in this case, we would send the statistics from PrestoStats to your local drive. And in theory, the idea is that your scoreboard will be able to ingest or point to that location on your machine and ingest the standardized XML file that we generate as the game is being statted. So PrestoSync. All right, let's just an introduction. I'll go back to PrestoSync shortly here. Okay, so this is really where after setting up your rosters, ensuring that you've got your stat partners integrated properly. After on game day in the press box, this is likely going to be your main target. You would go to the given event for the day. And we will say that today is 8/5, but I finalized this event this afternoon. So we will go into to the event that is for Saturday. Upon selecting the event, you are taken to the event page. Within the event page, you can see the participating teams. You can see the status of the event in its current state, any changes that have been made to the event, essentially if the event was added or if it was updated as far as maybe the time or the status was changed, and as well as the ability to go in and edit the event as needed. Here is essentially where you're going to launch the stats platform and begin the process of statting the game. Um, Today, in this particular tutorial, we are going to just review Stats 2.0. It's our new football stats platform. You are not going to see the functionality here that you will see in probably a couple of days. We have a near-term release that will essentially allow you to select whether or not you would like to enter PrestoStats Football Legacy or PrestoStats Football 2.0. But for the purpose of this demo, we will be directed directly to 2.0. As Brad mentioned earlier, those events are all going to be inherited through NCAA Manager. That's also an upcoming release here. You probably saw the supplemental documentation that went out this morning. We will be running a nightly job to ensure that all of that information is updated. You do have the ability to ingest that information on a team-by-team basis yourself as needed. That being said, we are into the event. Upon accessing the event, you are accessing the stats, the event. I'm sorry. Upon accessing the stats platform and into the event, you are taken to the event settings. Within the event settings, we have a preset list of defaults here. These defaults are inherited actually from season settings. Season settings, we'll take you guys here. This is not a view you will particularly access. This is actually in ideal situations, you will have had your season set up for you and the rules will have already been defined and you are just inheriting them at the event level. So changes made here essentially are stored across the network. So if you are running an individual league or an organization and you need to make an in-season rule change, you would just reach out to somebody in support. They will go into the season and update the season setting for you so that it is inherited across all events. We will go back to our event. So you can see in this view, you guys will actually have the ability to see final events in progress and not started events. Let's go back to the event that we kicked off. Okay, so within event settings, there's a few, I would call them the semantically unique settings that would probably be worth calling out here. Number of periods, downs, field length, field width. Obviously, downs are the number of downs that you have in a given drive before the ball is turned over after the yard to gain is not met. Period length, timeouts per half, red zone length. Red zone length is important. This is essentially going to define a portion of the field where we will statistically define a result of an attempt or a score as a red zone attempt or a score based on this value. End zone length is important because it plays into the ability to track accurate field goal yardage. So if the goalpost is placed on the goal line or if it's placed at the back of the end zone or in the middle of the end zone, we have the ability to accurately calculate that length based on where the ball was placed at the point it was kicked. Show end zone yards. This by default is typically set to no, but if you are tracking end zone yards through interceptions or things like that, and you want that yardage tracked on the return, you would just select yes there. By default, we do not have a time control for overtime. So you will notice that as we enter plays throughout this event, you'll be prompted for essentially a play time on drive terminating and drive starting plays. For the OT time control, we essentially eliminate that because we assume that there is no running clock in overtime. But if you did need that, you would just select yes. Fair catch touchback, pretty self-explanatory. So touchback count as a fair catch. We default that to no. Rush type and pass type, these are inherited from legacy platforms. This is essentially the detail that you would like to provide for a given rush or a pass play. So do you want to, is it a rush up the right tackle, left tackle? Is it a pass to the right sideline? Those types of details can be defined in a given play, given that these are set to true. Spike is a team attempt only. In case of a spike, do we consider that a QB attempt? We default that to yes. We only consider it as a team attempt. Team loss only. In certain scenarios, you may want to apply the yardage loss by quarterback on a sack or a kneel down to the team only, and not have it apply to the quarterback's individual statistics. Collecting additional statistics on PATs, that's obviously the ability to define the rusher, the passer, the target receiver, things of those nature. Same with onside kicks, prompt to forego kickoff. I think this is probably more for the international game. But after after either of these plays, a safety or a field goal, you can essentially define whether the next play should be a kickoff or should the ball just be turned over to the opposing team. This is a pretty important one, I would say, participation style. We'll dig a little bit deeper into this as we look at the team rosters. Let's take a look at the team rosters really quick here. So you can see the rosters were all ingested through our API, and they're the same rosters that we set up prior to the game. You do have the ability to mark a player as well. You do have the ability to add a new player if you need to, and that will be passed over to our system and shared across our network. So participants by default, given that you have the default participation style selected, we essentially mark every player as the participant that is on the active roster for the event. Given that those players do not actually participate in the game, so if it's somebody who's just on the sideline that wasn't in there for a snap, given the default participation style, you would simply want to mark those players as non-participants at any point in the game. You can do that now, or you can do that as you're statting the game. Additionally, we have a new participation style called continuous. The way continuous participation style works is essentially it marks every player as a non-participant by default at kickoff. And players are marked as participants as stats are accumulated. So once a kick happens, the kicker, the returner, the tackler are all marked as participants. And we also do give you the ability to toggle individual players on and off there as well. So if you do see a lineman come in that you weren't expecting to come in throughout the game, you can go in to the roster if you have the time, and you are free to set them as a participant. Furthermore, with this workflow, we will generate a list of participants for you at the end of the game. And that list will be a cumulative total of all of the players that accumulated stats throughout the game. From that point on, you have the ability to also add additional participants. So your linemen that didn't get any tackles, that didn't accumulate any statistics throughout the game, or penalties, essentially. So that's a continuous participation style. We'll go by default. I do feel like default is easiest, but again, that's all going to depend on your workflow, the number of staff that you have on the field, and who's tracking players that are coming in and out of a lineup. We have a notion of a running clock as well. This is something that was recently introduced. It is in its early stages. Essentially, if you were to toggle this on, we would allow you to have the scoreboard clock would essentially run down. Again, each play is typically appended with a timestamp when it's necessary. Otherwise, you will have a drive start and a drive end time. As needed, you are free to try this out. And as you are required to enter play or enter times for given plays, you will be prompted with the time that it's the running clock time, essentially. Okay. So we've got spots set up here. Again, all of these are inherited through the season settings. So somebody set the kickoff yard line 40. The touchback yard line after kickoff is at the 20. A PHP try is placed at the 3. A safety kickoff is going to be placed at the 20. The drive starting yard lines are going to be 20 and the touchback 20. Rouge yard line is going to be more for the international game as well. Overtime starting yard line is there as well. I think a lot of this is pretty self-explanatory. Kick PAT, your standard point after attempt is just 1 point by default, and your pass and runs are obviously your 2-point conversions, and your safety score by default is 2. Okay, so we will go back into the rosters just to review them one last time and ensure that we have everything set up here. Team details. This stuff is not pre-populated, so be sure to enter the abbreviated name. This will show up on the play log. It'll make it easier to identify the teams, and the overall records will be added to the box scores. The color that you select here is inherited from the team's profile in game day, but if you do not have a color here, please note that that this color will render on the field display within the play entry modal. You will see that here. But any changes, ensure you click save. Same with the details. So within an event, you're also going to have the event details. These are typically going to be inherited from game day. As you see, you cannot edit the venue address, city, and state because you can actually define those while customizing the event and setting the event up in game day. And NCAA manager and inheriting the events through that process, you guys should also see this stuff show up automatically. If you need to add personnel, just add anybody you would like. And we have a myriad of roles here. We'll just play with one ref. Say we've got one line judge. All of this is being stored in the box score as we're entering it. Now let's go to set up game. That is going to be this media button here. After clicking setup game, you're going to be presented with the game start modal. You would select who won the coin toss. You're going to infer that they decided to receive the kick. And if you need to change the field direction, this is always a good time to do it as well. Some of our, I don't know if any of you have used the platform in the past. We have made a subtle change to how we handle swapping fields as well. We used to swap the field. We used to ask you if you would like to swap fields after each quarter. Now we just swap fields by default. If you ever need to swap fields, you can swap the field direction. You're more than welcome to go into the game control view here. Within game control, you have a few options. You can reset the coin toss. You can update the field, call a timeout, and this is where you will navigate through time and periods. Okay, so let's start off with entering some plays here. I'll dig deeper into the view description as I enter plays as well. All of the primary plays sequences begin with a with a standard scenario. So off of the bat, you can't start with a pass. Um, we would require a kick or a pre-kickoff penalty, essentially. So you may use a hotkey to select, or you can use your mouse. The hotkeys are all underlined on the views. Um, so anytime you see an underline, that is the hotkey for that fragment of the sequence. After kicking, or after any play, when the rosters are rendered, we assume that ordering by position is the most helpful. So in a kicking play, we're going to prioritize the players that are positionally kickers. Um, on a passing play, we would prioritize the players that are quarterbacks. You do have the ability to toggle that off, and we will essentially order it by number. As you're entering plays, you can bounce through fragments here as the breadcrumbs populate. If you're ever in a point where you say, "Oh, I select the wrong kicker, I need to go back and update that," while you're entering the play, given you have the time, of course. Um, so we'll say ball was kicked from the default kickoff yard line spot, and we'll say it was kicked by the kicker, and you can again enter the kicker's number, just click enter, or select the kicker from the list. Define where the ball was kicked to. Say it was kicked to the 5. Again, you can enter the hotkey. They're all defined by the underlines. Say it was returned. Say it was returned by the wide receiver. And we'll say there was a tackle by the outside linebacker. In this scenario, when the tacklers are rendered, you do have the ability to select multiple tacklers as well, and those will be divvied up accordingly. And then here is where you will be prompted to enter the time that the play finished. And for purposes of this demo, we'll say that was a 4-minute kickoff without the running clock. As plays are entered, you'll notice the play log is updated. Um, the play log will give you details as far as where the ball, who has the ball, by the color of the number, the play number actually defines who the ball is in possession with at that time. So you will see the next play is a pass. We'll say it was complete, and we'll say they were tackled. So they're tackled by the cornerback. And we'll say they were tackled at the 10-yard line. Play. Okay, so football demo home had a completed pass by Josh Allen to Keon Coleman for 64 yards to the Erie 10-yard line. This was a drive start play. Historically, you may have seen our platforms generate separate play logs, play log items for drive starts and drive finishes. We have now changed how that works, and we have basically appended those to the play that they're relevant to. Hopefully that promotes readability and ease of use as we have researched. Okay, so now we are at 1st and 10. First down, the down and distance is presented up in the scoreboard. We're within the 10-yard line, so and goal is by default going to be the distance. And let's just continue with another play here. Say rush. Since this is a terminating drive play, you will be requested to provide a time as well. Okay, and for the PAT flow, you just select point after attempt. Um, Rush, kick, or pass. Kick and pass are obviously going to lead to the 2-point conversions, given that it's successful. To keep things simple for now, we will just go through the kick flow. You have some options here: fake run, fake pass. In current state, it's going to be best to avoid the fake run and fake pass fragments and to start off with a pass, but select the kicker as the passer. We'll say it's good. Okay. Also, here it is. The drive's finished. We've got a Matt Prater 1-point kick attempt for 13 yards. Total time of the drive. And again, we've got the tag to indicate that the drive has been closed out. Let's run a pre-kickoff penalty here. A little bit deeper into the penalty view, you will see you have the ability to filter penalties. So you can do that by penalty code. Sorry here. Or you can do it by penalty name. Or you can enter a custom penalty. Say the penalty was accepted. And since it's a pre-kickoff penalty, we're going to place the ball back 5 yards. Oh, look, something's wrong here. Sorry. If you ever run into a situation where the play is off and you need to edit or remove it, you do have the ability to simply delete the play. We've got a kickoff. We have football demo home in possession of the ball. Let's demonstrate a turnover really fast here. So the ball was intercepted by return. In cases of an interception or a fumble, it's worth mentioning, we default to the player who intercepted the ball for the return by fragment, or to the player who recovered the ball for the fumbled fragment. Again, we've got a terminating drive play, so you will be requested to provide the time here. Minor issue, we're working through this, but you will, and this is probably the most number of labels that you'll be presented with in a given drive or in a given play. You will see a potential drive start, a turnover, and a drive end. But we're at the end of the first quarter here. To navigate over to the second quarter, you go to time and period. By default, we require that you step through each quarter, so you can't skip the second and go to the third directly. As you can see, we automatically swap the fields here. We were at the 18-yard line on this side of the field, and now we move to the 18-yard line on this side of the field. If that's not the desired action, you would simply swap sides. Run a other plays here. So we've got a pass. Say the pass was incomplete. This is a fragment to determine who broke up the ball in case of a pass attempt that was blocked by a defensive back, for example. Okay, we'll run a another. Sorry here. Changes to a pass. Pass by 17. Sacked. Keep an eye on the title of the view here. This is going to essentially, you may run into scenarios where you have a fumble followed by a lateral, followed or an interception followed by a fumble followed by a lateral, and it could get confusing as you're pulling both rosters back and forth. We have some work in play right now that we will have pushed out here shortly to simplify this a little bit, but right now we essentially rely. We hope that you would take a look and assume that that this makes it easier to determine what roster you're on. This wasn't here probably last season, but now we each section is appended with the team name to hopefully simplify that. But we'll continue the sack. Okay, we'll say it was for a 2-yard loss of play. Oh, we're going the other way. Sorry here. Okay. So Josh Allen sacked for -2 yards. And again, you can see any feedback as well. If you guys want to reach out regarding the new UI here within the play log, be extremely helpful. Any point throughout the game, generally between periods and halftime, you guys are going to want numbers fast. The fans might want box scores. We have various combined and individual reports that can be obtained directly from the platform. You can also obtain standard style box scores from Game Day CMS, where we started off this training. But here are the in-app reports that we currently have available. You just go to print. Essentially, these are the options that we have today. Also, if you go back to the event, you'll notice some changes to the view. The orange denotes that the event is in progress. We've got a score here. We've got the start of the second. We've got a box score that's now attached to the event and a history of the box score as well. And can obtain this version if it's to your liking. If you ever need to go back to an existing version of the game, you could simply select a version here, and we will render the version in that state. I think now we've got some plays here. Would be a good time to bounce over to PrestoSync. Typically, you would have done this right before the game. But PrestoSync is a platform that you would simply reach out to us for. We would send you a package. You can actually download it directly from the section that I showed here. It would will pull out the most up-to-date version of it for you. If you go to the Stats tab, you can go to Download PrestoSync. You can download whatever package is for your machine. You would log in using the same credentials that you use to log into game day. Oh, sorry. Okay. And after successfully logging in, you will be presented with a list of all the events that are assigned to your account. As you can see, I have a myriad of events here. These are all based on the access that that user has. So that user has access to all of these teams in all of these different seasons. Okay, let me just confirm here. Got the right date of our event. So you would select the event and we'll say send from Presto Sports. The idea is that the updated box score will be sent to your local machine as plays are entered. You would select a folder. Just, just going to place it in my downloads folder for ease of use. And you can name your file. Say, now once I click start transmission, the software is going to create a file on my local drive. And that file is going to have all of the information from the event that we have thus far and everything as we enter as well, as we enter more stats. Intermittently, the system is pinging, the application is pinging our network to grab the most up-to-date XML file. Okay, and as you can see, here is said file. The same title that we created it with. As you can see, my Sublime text is refreshing every second to grab the most, looking for the latest changes. So that's PrestoSync in a nutshell. We do have extensive documentation on how to handle PrestoSync and Stat Partners published on our support site as well. Okay, so let's pretend that we played full game here. We'll navigate to the fourth quarter. I can start to take some of your questions. Simplicity, 0 here. And now it is time to finalize the event. You can enter your attendance records if you'd like. We'll say 0-2. No. These details are stored on the box score. We have across our network a notion of tracking season results for win-loss records. Okay, we've got our summary, our box, and the ability to print any of the reports you may like. Participation reports. Individually for both teams. Once the game's over, you might want some additional insights. Um, we do have, as I said, we've got the full view on the box score here. You can view that in the platform. For some reason, you made a mistake to the event, uh, or you need to make a change. We go back here. Notice how you really only have access to the play log. Um, this is essentially a new view that retains the play log for a finalized event. Um, in the past, you had to go back. If you needed to make a change to an event that was already finalized, you'd have to go back in game day here and set the event to in progress. But we have now added a supplemental feature to stats, to the stats platform, that allows you to set the event to in progress from the events list. So if you ever needed to go in here and edit a play after the event was finished, hopefully that speeds things up a little bit. Now, once the event has culminated and you've got a series of events within your season, you may want to dig deeper and take a look at some of the advanced metrics that we store. That's done through our advanced report section. Go to the stats tab, select advanced reports. You can select an individual team or select multiple for team by team comparison. And you can select the date range. We'll ensure that we are in our current date range. Defaults to the dates of the season. We're looking for all reports, and we'll say team reports here. The full Monty of stat reports that you could possibly need. And we did skip a couple of quarters in our last event. I think that's just about culminates what I have for the day. We could probably move on to Q&A and dig deeper into some of your questions and specific scenarios.
Absolutely. Zaid, the first question that we had, three-digit roster character, three character roster numbers.
Yeah, it's
Can you show that off?
yeah.
And while Zaid does that, I'll let everybody know we'll have some helpful links that we'll post on our website. I'll put the link to where that's going to be later today. Has more information on Presto Sync setup and download, cheat sheets, link to our help center, all kinds of stuff like that. So Zaid, you're muted, by the way, just in case you didn't know.
Okay, sorry. You can do this through a few different ways. The best way to do it is to go through the platform, enter the player's uniform number. If three characters there. Okay, let's go to this play here. Okay, so James Cook was number 4 for this play. We changed it to 401. Um, if you ever need a 3-digit roster number, you can enter it here. I would suggest selecting it, but I mean you're all, in the case of a multiple tackler scenario, but you are always free to just type in this case it would be 401 and enter. If you want to scrap editing a play while you're in the process of editing it, you can just use a trash can here. I don't believe I called that out in the view description. Any questions specifically about the view and the platform, the views that we went through here today and the platform itself? Any specific plays or feedback you guys have, greatly appreciated.
Zaid, we did get a question on entering the time after plays or if it's at the end of a drive. I know that was a change from last year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So can you describe how we changed that?
Yeah, so we only request the time now in cases of the drive being terminated. So we need the drive end time. We can infer the drive start time from the end time in specific scenarios. In case of a kickoff, right? We can infer that the kickoff started at the time that the touchdown ended. Um, so you're not going to be duplicate. There are, I think, 5 or 6 places where we pulled out what I would call duplicate time entries. Um, the ability also, I think, to use a running clock, depending on your infrastructure, um, could absolutely supplement this as well and make it a little bit easier. You are free to update the time at any point in the game as well.
Next question, how compatible is 2.0 with legacy regarding rosters? So if someone is using a three-digit number and not what they would ordinarily do, and someone's inputting stats in legacy, what happens? So you have someone who's using 2 digits, someone who's using 3 digits.
So our system, like from a game day perspective, you can essentially add anything you want for a player's roster number. I'm sorry. That's you essentially in right now with legacy, there really isn't a support for three uniform or 3-digit roster numbers or 3-character roster numbers. Um, but I will state that once you start statting the game in 2.0, systematically we will not be able to stat the same event in legacy without removing the box score from that event.
So when you have a game that you're using um, legacy, or if you're using 2.0 and your opponent is using something different. So regardless, you can still import the XML, you can still have access to the file, and it should ask you to resolve those player numbers, correct?
Correct.
As typical. Okay.
Yeah, you would see the player mapping view show up in the event view on the event page, essentially saying we cannot locate this player uniform number.
Okay. Cool. And just for clarity in where you can enter your third digit within 2.0, you have to do that with the game open, or is there a way to do it on your rosters on the back end here?
You should do it with the game open. Um, right now, you should, in theory, you should be able to do it through the CSV process. I don't know why we have validation constraints in place here that are preventing me from entering. more than two numbers.
We'll go ahead and take a look at that. So Zaid, we may just want to mark that down just to take another glance at that. But at this point, you can do it within 2.0. Um, the proper way to do that with the game open would be once you know who's going to be your duplicates. Typically, you guys will know those when you go on the road. You should be able to open up the game, talk to the other SID, and if you want to go ahead and enter like a 22-0 and a 22D, you can always just open that before the game, and it's just so you can set that for the opposing SID. But that's up to you two to discuss.
We do still support the stat crew import, the FRO and FRX roster. So those currently are to my understanding, aren't supporting three digits today.
Okay. Any further questions that we have not dove into deep enough, or if there's anything else that anyone has, feel free to unmute or type it into the Q&A. We're running up on time.
Can you demonstrate inserting a play that you missed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got this, let's put this event back to in progress. Okay, so again, the event needs to be in progress to allow you to act on the play logs themselves. We'll say we'll insert a play here after. Okay. As you can see, I inserted this play after 2nd and 10, or and the following play was essentially the third quarter was halftime, right? At halftime, we switch the field direction, right, and we changed ball possession to the team that did not receive the ball at the start of the game. So that's why you notice the field flopped back to the state that it was once before we inserted the play.
Thank you.
All right, Zaid, we have one more question and then we're gonna go. Um, User ran into an issue last year with names pulling into the XML into sidearm. Example, with like a junior, senior, someone the third. Have we done anything to assist with that with their issue there?
I will have to look more into the nature of it. I vaguely recall something along those lines. I don't know why we would run into the issue on this side of the platform. It's got to be on the file generation, like the actual XML that's being generated by game day. Um, I don't believe we made any changes to that, but I can absolutely dig into that a little bit more.
Okay. What I would recommend is filling out a support ticket on that, and we'll get that over into our development hands, and we'll get that worked out. That's going to be the most appropriate way to do that. Last thing, I'm gonna post this here. I'm just gonna show you this here right now. I'm gonna share my screen. So going back, I'm going to post these helpful links in the deck that we use today on our website. PrestoSports.com/events is where that's going to be. So again, PrestoSports.com/events. I will also post the recording of this a little bit later today, both there, Facebook, and on our YouTube page. So you can go back and reference this whenever you would like. A little bit more on our support. Full support during the week and weekends, non-emergent issues, and there's the resolution time. And then, of course, we've got the SOS text line for game day issues. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today and best of luck this season.
Thank you guys. And if anybody has any feedback that you wanted to soak in or watch this again, please reach out to us, and we're always looking to improve and enhance our products.